One of the best ways to prevent spreading coronavirus is hand washing. But in some places like Flint, Michigan, that is not a simple task. Flint, which is majority African American and largely poor, is still reeling from the 2014 water contamination crisis. And now it's grappling with a new public health emergency.
I need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
In 2014, officials looking to save money switched Flint, Michigan's drinking water supply from the Detroit city system to the highly corrosive Flint River.
Let me be blunt. This was a failure of government at all levels. Local, state, and federal officials. We all failed the families of Flint.
People who put dollars over the fundamental safety of the people do not belong in government. And you need to resign too, Governor Snyder.
It's something else. Are the people paying right now in Flint for water they cannot wash in and cannot use and cannot drink? This is not a third world country.
We had what we needed in place to prevent this from happening.
Really? But then why did it happen?
Because the state didn't implement and enforce appropriately.
I took it.
Organizer LaShaya Darisaw says the MDEQ is a state agency, so their test results cannot be trusted. Michigan United is asking for a boycott of all Nestle products.
Vaguely know, they know what happened with the water in Flint, or vaguely know about it outside of Flint. I think something they don't know at all is something that appears in the film that I think a lot of people, if they see the movie, are going to walk out being like, what the hell was that? So I want to play this footage from the film. It's footage of Flint, the city that we're in.
No notice to the people in Flint. One night, they just start bombing Flint.
Changes of both policy and culture, and an end to systematic racism and police brutality. That's what event organizer LaShaya Darisaw hope come out of tonight's vigil.
That happened in the 1930s, but yet here we are later, still fighting for some of the same causes after the media has left and the next story is gone and has come on, that people still continue to work together.
50 years ago, half a century, M.L. King stood in crowds just like these, and he stood for justice and peace. 50 years ago, we were dying in the streets. 50 years later, we're still dying like dogs in the street. 50 years later, we have still not reached that dream.
For far too long, We've done the same things expecting change, electing people who only pander for our votes, expecting a single person to be above to solve a systematic problem.
I'm not afraid because I don't. So I'll just be very clear. The governor announced her campaign in Detroit at the Mathers Community Center. And we were also received a pledge that she would restore, the state would restore bottled water that Governor Snyder had cut off toward the end of his term. She said she would restore it until all the pipes have been completed. And she has broken her word thus far. The community leaders are concerned, but they're scared to speak out.
Demonstrators brought rifles and handguns inside the Capitol, which is legal. Whitmer says a few displayed Confederate flags, nooses, and the swastika outside of it.
The waving of the Confederate flag across the United States like we didn't lose the battle, yet telling us that we need to get over slavery.
Before there was a raid on the U.S. Capitol, Michigan had its own riots in the Lansing Capitol, full of Trump flags and fascist activists. They brought assault rifles into the chambers where representatives were voting, unchallenged by Capitol Police authorities.
We can't allow this just to be. You know, when we elevate somebody from our neighborhoods up to a level to go into this Capitol and speak on our behalves and make laws on our behalves, we're not going to allow white supremacy to intimidate them to where they feel that they can't go in here and speak for us.
Randy Wimberly and Wendell Anthony came up to the state capitol strapped to the hilt that you and I would not be treated with such grace and such tolerance as they were treated in this instance.
Reverend ACP was far from alone in that sentiment. Many black Michiganders expressed the same view on social media. It's one Lynn wants to change.
Crime bills that took us away from our brothers and our sisters, scrutinized for kneeling while that very same stance took our lives away.
Taking the knee when they're playing our great national anthem. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Let's start from moving from reaction to action. It's holding people, all people, accountable, starting with ourselves. It's about forcing those who don't stand with us out. Movement without unity. We are only as strong as we are united, and as weak as we are divided. So I challenge you, what comes next after this outrage? What comes next after the protest? What comes next after the media has left?
We must stand together. Celebrities, activists, politicians, allies, and all must come together. For 400 years, we have been fighting for our existence. We can pool resources to create true generational change. Our lives are beyond a political agenda. There is no peace without justice. It's time for a nationwide community conversation.
There's a room full of white supremacists that are saying, absolutely, you better not think about doing that. We're keeping the narrative going that somebody has put in our minds and fed us for so long that
Say, this is for George. This is for Breonna. This is for Mike Brown. This is for Sandra Bland. This is for Trayvon Martin. This is for Eric Gardner. This is for Emmett Till. This is for MLK. This is for Malcolm X. And the countless lives lost at the hand of a racist.
They want people to be held accountable. They want actual change. They don't want another George Floyd.
Flint has always been in the forefront when it comes to justice throughout history. We won the sit-down strike. We brought national attention to Flint during the water crisis. Even now, during this time, we are setting the bar and the stage for the nation. National Guard and police laying down their weapons to stand with us. Flint continues to be in the forefront. Let us continue to be the change that we wish to see in this world. When the media is gone, we must keep going. When the story moves on, injustice still will stand, and we cannot let it fail.
I always felt like I could do anything. That's the main thing people are controlled by. Thoughts, their perception of themselves. They're slowed down by their perception of themselves. If you're taught you can't do anything, you won't do anything. I was taught I could do everything.